You've been nice to people all your lives, more or less, right? And what has it gotten you? Fuck all nothing, remember? I've been treating people like shit for, not since I'm 5, maybe, since I'm 10. And almost everybody loves me. And I said, don't buy me gifts. Got a gold coin in the mail last night from a guy that can't afford to give me a gold coin. And yet the majority of the world still want to believe that shit, that love gets the job done. And you heard Peter say it, when he got tough, things changed. You heard Deb say it, when he got tough, things changed. You heard Frank say it, when he got tough, things changed. You heard Margot say it, when she got tough, things change. When they respect you, they come on your board. When they respect you, the banks lend you money. And a lot of people don't like me, but they respect me because they know that I'm a rainmaker. I know how to make money. The more aggressive you will be, the more successful you'll be. But 98% of all the people have the same characteristics that most people in this room. Introverts, low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence. And over time, they build their self-confidence, they build their self-esteem through success. The difference is, I wasn't looking for a shortcut. I was looking for a path to success. You kids, and I say generally speaking, you're looking for a shortcut. There is no shortcut to success. There is no shortcut to a six-pack. And the reason why you're not so successful is because you haven't been selfish. Because what were you taught as a kid? Let the kid play with your toys, right? Don't take all the... You heard all that bullshit. And some of you are telling your kids wrongly that now. First act of selfishness is to love yourself. My wife and my ex-wife, if they were in this room, would tell you, we worship the ground Dan walked on, but our love for our husband was transitory in comparison for the love he had for himself. Nobody loves Dan Pena more than Dan Pena. Nobody. And self-esteem is the basis of all high performance. Today's the first day of the rest of your life of learning how to win. Not some of the time, not most of the time, but all the time. You have connoted high performance with goodness. It's about winning. And QLA, and the creation of generational wealth, is a mental game. The name of the seminar should be the psychology of high performance. This is not a journey. This is a process that we model successful people. And do you think that Elon Musk gives a shit what you think of him? No. Do you think Steve did? No. Do you think Bill Gates does? No. But I mean, success leaves clues. Just think. This is one of my favorite questions in the university student. Just think, kids, as I'm looking up at them, if you weren't afraid of anything. Nothing. Getting a bad grade, your parents not liking who you go out with, you want to drop out of school but you're afraid to because your dad will beat you. Just think if you weren't afraid of anything on the planet. Nothing. Where would you be? Steve Jobs was afraid of nothing. Warren Buffett is afraid of nothing. Bill Gates is afraid of nothing. Henry Ford was afraid of nothing. I'm afraid of nothing. And yet those names, and I could name thousands of them like them, continue to succeed, continue to change the world, and the rest of the world, the 99.9% of the world, is afraid to take a shit. I always say if you're going to stay in school, do the best you can, but QLA is doing the best you can in everything you do. If you're going to stay in fucking school, do the best you can. If you're not going to do the best you can, then get out of school. Alistair Cook, the famous BBC presenter, told me 30 years ago, before he passed away now. He said, being a professional, being a high-performance professional is doing your job even when you don't feel like it and doing it well. Our kids hate hearing this story, but still one of the guys that I work for on Wall Street. He says, we used to have the security guards drag your father from the office and make him go home to sleep after 5-6 days straight. I used to be able to go 2-3 days with no sleep. And I drank and fucked all night. Guys, if you don't think you can fuck all night, guess what? You can't fuck all night. QLA is exactly the same. You will never surpass your wildest expectation. The only thing that's going to really make a difference is you, as an individual, pushing it every single day as hard as you can. So I always used to think, when I'd interview older guys, why hasn't this guy been more successful yet in his life? That's 38 years old. Jesus Christ. He's made no fucking... But that's how I used to think. But whether you're 18 that looks 12 or whether you're 45 that looks 55, there's going to be no competition. But even the kids that have failed have made a few $1 million. But for the average guy or gal with 100 IQ, it takes 17 times before you get it right. But normally you don't practice enough. Why don't you do it? They're afraid of the hard work because you've never had any hard work. And if you can do it a week, you might not be able to do 2 weeks, but 52 weeks is a motherfucker. It's hard. Now just imagine 49 years. I only know work until I drop, okay? And if you're working 100 hours a week and you're not worth $50 million, something ain't right. You're obviously not doing the right things. You work 80 hours a week, 78 hours a week doing this. I mean, in 10 months, you're gonna have 20 million. You know you're on the right track when your default is TLA. Your default is being hard. Your default is being firm. Your default is not taking excuses for lack of performance. Your default is measuring people. And then pretty soon, you got 3% of good habits and 7%, then 15, then 20, then 20. And then, 99% of my habits are all good, and I've been doing it for decades now. This is a good test. Next time you go out to dinner, sit and listen. Don't order first. Listen to everybody else at the table. And I will bet you dollars to donuts that almost everybody at the table says, and they're looking at the menu, okay, and assuming it's in the same language you speak, and could I have this, could I have this, could I have this? Instead of, I order, I'll have this, I'll have this, I'll have this. And it's not insulting. I mean, you're firm in everything you do, from dealing with your little kids, to your parents, to your spouses, to your board. Then it just becomes, a natural flow. Someplace, somewhere, maybe somebody made some money in your family, in the history. But then they lost it. Because otherwise, you wouldn't be here, probably. Whether you're 17 years old or you're 57 years old, default's a bitch. Because you fall back to your norm previously. Jim Ryan, greatest miler who never won a gold medal at Olympics, who fell down in the 1968 Olympics, told me many years ago, Dan, motivation gets you started, good habits keep you going. The reason why you have poor habits is because you're not motivated enough to do something about it. I talked about, we all know how to not gain weight, less calories, more exercise, yet 2/3 of America and Britain are obese. They're not motivated enough. Nobody's ever had to motivate me in my whole life. Nobody ever had to motivate Steve Jobs in his whole life. Nobody ever had to motivate Henry Ford first in his whole life. And I can go down the list of every single fucking one. My experience for the people that are the most successful, the Hall of Famers, the billionaires that I've made like God out of clay, I didn't have to motivate them. I don't have to use 3 alarm clocks to wake up. I don't need 1 alarm clock. If I want to wake up at 6:05, I wake up at 6:05. When Edward, my valet butler, comes in to wake me up at 7:30, I'm already awake 2 minutes before he knocks on my door. Whether I went to bed at 5:05 or 9:05, I get up at 7:27. Goals and affirmations have been used for athletes since the first Olympiad, 2,000 years ago. But nobody, hardly anybody, does it for their own personal satisfaction and create wealth. It's like I can remember the first day I made $10,000 in a day. I can remember the first day I made $100,000 in a day. I can remember the first day I made $1 million a day. Whenever I need to resurrect my enthusiasm, I just flash back to one of those days, and I remember the day of the first time. I made $100 million in a day. And those experiences put the best sex you ever had, it pales into complexion. It just doesn't exist. I mean, that's why these workaholic maniacs are workaholic maniacs. Because the adrenaline rush you get out of making a lot of money is beyond your comprehension.